early 2023, the Ukrainian Air Force released footage of a downed Kh-101 Russian cruise missile. The projectile was developed a few years before the collapse of the Soviet Union and has been deployed in several modern conflicts, including the invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine's military has gotten better at intercepting the stealthy weapons because, even with an imposed sanction against it, Russia has managed to continue manufacturing an increasing number of them. However, upon closely examining one particular Kh-101 in February, the Ukrainians discovered that it was unlike any they had encountered before. In the last years of the Soviet Union, the Russian military was seeking a new kind of air-launched cruise missile as a replacement for the Kh-55. The new type would initially be known as the Kh-90, and though development began in the late 1980s, the program was suspended for good after only a few flight tests. A new program was eventually launched in its place, the Kh-101. This project aimed to develop a stealthy, air-launched cruise missile deployable by strategic bombers. The missile had its maiden flight in 1998 and entered evaluation trials within the next few years. However, the discreet endeavor remained under the radar until 2007, when the first images of the weapon surfaced. While the exact date of adoption remains uncertain, the Kh-101 has been in service with the Russian Air Force for several years. Notably, at the time of its introduction, it was Russia's most advanced air-launched non-nuclear missile. Even so, the production pace was too slow to satisfy the military's ambitions, with a reported rate of barely 3 projectiles a month. But although the Russian defense industry's capabilities were less than desired, the weapon was prepared to participate in the most significant conflicts of the 21st century. The Kh-101 is a long-range standoff weapon, designed to be carried and launched by Tu-160M long-range strategic bombers, with capacity to support a dozen missiles inside, as well as the Tu-95MSM, with room for 6 missiles internally and another 8 externally. Although it retains similar characteristics to its predecessor, the new weapon is larger and heavier. Moreover, the Kh-101 is longer than the older version, and the K-55 cannot be loaded in the internal bomb bay of the Tu-95MS. Moreover, the 101 did keep the Kh-55's drop-down engine, which drops below the missile during flight, while the wings pop out for cruising efficiency. The Russian weapon also shares some external features with the US AGM-158 JASSM air-launched cruise missile. Nevertheless, the Kh-101 showcases a significantly longer range of 3,000 kilometers. Armed with a conventional 400 to 450 kilogram warhead, the overall weight of the missile amounts to 2,200 to 2,400 kilograms, depending on the version. Potential warheads for the projectile likely include high explosive, penetration high explosive, and submunitions warheads. Featuring a reduced radar cross-section, the Kh-101 is stealthier than the Kh-55, making it more difficult to detect and destroy while en route to its target. Moreover, the missile is retargetable, capable of engaging moving targets, exhibits a variable flight profile, and can reach altitudes up to 10,000 meters. Additionally, the cruise missile is equipped with an electro-optical system for flight trajectory correction and a TV guidance system for terminal guidance. As such, the Kh-101 is estimated to have an accuracy of 10 to 20 meters in terms of circular error probable. However, some sources suggest that the CEP could be as small as 5 meters. Such pinpoint accuracy is more than enough to hit infrastructure targets. After the missile entered service with the Russian Air Force sometime in 2012, it saw combat several times across several theaters. On October 31, 2015, a Russian Metrojet airliner was attacked by ISIS terrorists. Within 2 weeks, terrorists attacked 129 people in Paris, which prompted Russia to retaliate with a series of cruise missile strikes, targeting various sites in Syria. Then, on November 19th and 20th, after deploying an initial wave of strategic bombers, a second wave, consisting of Tu-95 Bears and Tu-160 Blackjacks, struck the provinces of Aleppo and Idlib. During this engagement, the aircraft not only debuted, but also launched a total of 32 KH-101 projectiles. Throughout the following year, the missile was extensively used against ISIS targets, although the exact number of munitions launched remains unknown. As the conflict continued into 2017, Russia again dispatched its long-range Tu-95 loaded with KH-101s to destroy 3 rebel ammunition depots and a command facility on the border of Homs and Hama. Impressively, the missiles traveled for a kilometer before striking their targets. Later that year, Tu-95 MS bombers carrying the projectiles flew 7,000 kilometers from Engels airfield in southern Russia through Iraqi and Iranian airspace, executing a successful strike. The Russian Ministry of Defense then claimed to have destroyed several ISIS command posts and ammunition depots. As of 2022, the Russian military has also employed the weapon in the Ukrainian theater from the time of the invasion. However, it is worth noting that Russia's production of the KH-101 was sanctioned as an imposition to cease the conflict. Even so, the Ukrainians have intercepted missiles evidently produced after the invasion began, implying that Russia still managed to acquire all necessary components, even if foreign, to build the weapons. It has been demonstrated that the Ukrainians are more than capable of seizing most of the hostile KH-101s, though aided by Western-supplied air defense systems. However, the KH-101 intercepted in February of 2023 was nothing like they had seen before. The 504AP, an improved version of the KH-101, was equipped with built-in electronic countermeasures, which can allegedly jam incoming interceptor missiles. Meanwhile, the KH-102 is similar to the 101, but fitted with a thermonuclear warhead capable of a blast yield of 25 kilotons. In turn, the KH-BD is a future cruise missile with a more considerable range and is planned to carry conventional and nuclear warheads. However, the cruise missile found in Vinnytsia in central Ukraine was a new and secret version. In response, the Ukrainian Air Force released footage showing the remains relatively intact. In it can be seen that the projectile was fitted with an electro-optical guidance system and decoy flare. Before this revelation, it was unknown that the cruise missile was equipped with a specialized guidance system scan that aids in determining the projectile's position. The digital system was designed to guide the missile in real time with camera input to work out its location. As a result, the system can visually identify targets instead of merely attacking mathematically estimated coordinates. It reportedly executes a correlation between a stored image and a snapshot of the terrain beneath it, subsequently generating a position fix. However, the images revealed even more. From another perspective, the KH-101 has a section with an airborne countermeasures dispenser capable of defeating infrared and radio frequency missiles. If the sensors detect an incoming threat, the dispenser system automatically triggers countermeasures, launching radio frequency and infrared attacks at the optimum time to neutralize the missile. Moreover, according to Defense Express, investigators made an X-ray of the dispenser system itself, confirming the precise filling of the module. As the report explains, quote, "The logic of using such modules with heat traps remains unclear, since in order to detect the launch of missiles with infrared homing heads, it is necessary to install a massive system with surveillance cameras. Without this system, shooting heat traps in automatic mode is impossible." What remains clear is that the advanced self-protection kit of Russian cruise missiles is not only necessary but essential for airborne missions in the demanding and complex environments of the 21st century. And while the massive missile strikes have not quite achieved the goals stipulated by Moscow, Russian engineers are working diligently to enhance the effectiveness of their missiles and increase the likelihood of mission success. While the war in Europe rages, a vigilant satellite captures a telling image, a picture of new Russian aircraft ready to take to the skies. As analysts scrutinize the imagery, the puzzle pieces align. Now, the airbase is identified as a high-value target. Anticipation increases as an attack looms. Encrypted messages signal the assault's start, and the airfield soon will become a battleground. Yet, an eerie realization dawns. The defense is weak, the resistance unexpectedly feeble. The Ukrainian aircraft dive, poised to strike, but amidst the chaos it becomes clear. it was all a diversion, and the supposed aircraft were only paintings on the airfield's ground. Resources, aircraft, and personnel have been mobilized. Other targets have been overlooked and ordnance wasted. Can this Russian stratagem deceive the Ukrainian forces? Recent images posted online might hold the answer. Satellite imagery has revealed a strategic visual deception by the Russian military. The tactic, examined by an open-source intelligence or OSINT analyst named Brady Afric, involves the creation of fake aircraft on an airfield aimed at misleading Ukrainian drones and satellites. The Russian armed forces appear to be engaging in an attempt to outmaneuver Ukrainian intelligence operatives by painting false aircraft images on an airfield situated near the occupied Crimea region. The airbase is located near Yeysk, within Russia's Krasnodar region in the southwest, adjacent to the Sea of Azov and in proximity to the Crimean Peninsula, annexed by Russia in 2014. This particular base is one of several air bases employed by Russian aircraft engaged in operations within Ukraine. The OSINT researcher shared images on the Twitter platform, showcasing the counterfeit aircraft at the Yeysk Naval Air Station. Afric disseminated satellite images that displayed what seemed to be an orchestrated effect to confuse both Ukrainian drones and satellites. Most likely, the intended outcome was to sow uncertainty about the actual count of operational aircraft and safeguard genuine fighters from potential targeting by Ukrainian drones and missiles. But laughably, these imitations would prove ineffective against satellites equipped with radar reconnaissance capabilities, which is the precise method employed by the defense forces of Ukraine. Fighter bombers such as the Su-34, Su-35 and 30, Su-27, and MiG-29 are known to be stationed at the Yeysk airfield. And indeed, there is a possibility that the Russian authorities are engaged in an effort to fabricate deceptive targets that are challenging to identify in satellite images with limited resolution. However, the success of this strategy hinges on the requirement for satellites to capture images from specific angles. As stated in the OSINT researcher's tweet, these simulated aircraft appearances were systematically developed over the summer months at the base. Afric's tweet elucidates that Russian military personnel meticulously painted newly constructed sections of the Yeysk airbase to resemble authentic military aircraft. His statement was coupled with images captured between June 26th and July 16th. The process involved initially painting the silhouettes using white paint in June, followed by the addition of blue hues in July to impart a semblance of depth. Notably, the subsequent image showcases 5 parked planes, one more than its counterpart from 3 weeks prior. In satellite imagery with higher resolution, the absence of intricate details and shadows, regardless of the angle of observation, would swiftly expose such an absurd attempt. Afric observed that these fabricated structures were established over a span of several months at the base. While the precise intent behind these structures cannot be definitively ascertained, Afric noted that both conflicting parties have frequently employed decoy tactics throughout the ongoing conflict to deceive opposition forces and prompt the wastage of ammunition. Russian ground forces have deployed a previously unknown type of decoy with their Iskander-M short-range ballistic missiles, a system known as SS-26 Stone in the West. These decoys, measuring around 16 inches in length and resembling darts with white bodies and orange tails, are meant to spoof and confuse anti-ballistic missile defenses. The Iskander-M missiles, with a range of 310 miles or potentially longer, are being used by Russia in the ongoing conflict with Ukraine. The purpose of these decoys became clear when an unnamed U.S. intelligence officer revealed that they were designed to disrupt air defense systems. These countermeasures include jammers to interfere with radar and heat sources to confuse infrared-guided missiles. The decoys are activated once the missile is targeted by air defense systems, potentially allowing them to be released when the missile is under threat. While the introduction of these decoys is surprising and suggests Russian efforts to adapt to advanced anti-ballistic missile defenses, it also raises questions about Russia's decision to expose this capability during the ongoing conflict, given that the revelation could provide valuable insights to Western intelligence and potentially lead to the development of countermeasures against the decoys. Still, Russia is not the only one using deception in this war. In an effort to outsmart Russia, Ukraine has reportedly been employing wooden decoys of advanced U.S. rocket systems. The tactic involves using these replicas to lure Russian missiles away from real targets. According to the Washington Post, these mock versions of U.S.-supplied rocket launchers have drawn the attention of at least 10 Russian Caliber cruise missiles. In response to this success, Ukraine has ramped up its production of these decoys. Ukrainian officials revealed that Russian drones identify these wooden replicas as high-priority targets, transmitting their locations to naval cruise missiles. This diversion tactic has led Russia to waste its costly long-range missiles on fake targets. The Washington Post report is based on interviews with senior U.S. and Ukrainian officials and photographs of the decoys. Russia has repeatedly claimed to have destroyed U.S.-made missiles, which the U.S. has dismissed as untrue. The Western-supplied rocket systems have played a vital role in Ukraine's efforts to counter Russian forces. They've been used to strike Russian arms depots and supply lines, slowing down Moscow's advances in the eastern Donbas region. These weapons are also pivotal for Ukraine's planned counteroffensive to reclaim the Kherson province. This unconventional approach highlights Ukraine's determination to employ innovative tactics against a better-equipped adversary. More recent reports also mention other inventive strategies. A Czech tech company named Inflatable has devised an ingenious solution to divert the enemy's attention and resources. Inflatable specializes in crafting lifelike inflatable military decoys that mimic tanks, armored vehicles, aircraft, and even advanced weapon systems like the HIMARS rocket launcher. These decoys are designed to confuse cameras, thermal cameras, and radars, tricking the enemy into targeting and expending costly resources on fake targets. The demand for such decoys has surged as the conflict in Ukraine intensifies. Inflatable CEO Wojciech Fresser acknowledged that while his decoys are purchased by various unspecified NATO member countries, he does not explicitly reveal whether they are used by Ukrainian forces. However, he hints at the possibility of these decoys being employed to support partner nations in times of distress. Inflatable's success is evident from its impressive growth, with business booming by more than 30% last year. Fresser anticipates sustained double-digit growth for the next few years. The company's innovative approach lies in the lightweight materials it employs, such as artificial silk, allowing for easy transport and swift deployment by just 4 soldiers. The process takes a mere 10 minutes to unwrap and inflate a decoy, contributing to its effectiveness on the battlefield. The economic advantage is clear. By forcing adversaries to waste expensive weaponry on fake targets, Inflatable strategically gains the upper hand. Each of these versatile decoys can cost up to $100,000. Despite the company's success in this unconventional venture, Fresser has expressed his desire to eventually return to more peaceful pursuits, like crafting toys for children. Although he stated, quote, "But first, we have to secure a safe world for them." The Russian military possesses some of the most fearsome weapons known to humanity, and recent events have served as a jarring reminder of its truly terrifying capabilities. Newly released footage shows Ukrainian soldiers securing the wreckage of a Russian R-37M missile, a weapon of unparalleled destructive might used to deliver lethal firepower from the Su-35 and MiG-31 fighters. Widely considered the most formidable air-to-air missile system in existence, the R-37M serves as a stark reminder of the immense power held within Putin's arsenal. With just the press of a button, he could unleash earth-shattering weapons, rivaled only by those of the United States. As the conflict in Ukraine rages on, the stakes have never been higher. In the early days of aerial combat, dogfighting was a dangerous art form in which pilots had to rely on their visual acuity and flying prowess to outmaneuver their opponents. They would engage in a dizzying series of sharp turns, barrel rolls, and tight loops, attempting to get behind their enemy's tail to get a chance at firing their guns. In these harrowing dogfights, pilots would fight to outsmart their opponents, often coming within mere feet of their adversaries as they searched for any signs of weakness before unleashing scorching bursts of machine gun and cannon fire to shred through their targets' airframes. However, with the introduction of air-to-air missile systems, such as the German Ruhrstahl X-4 missile in 1944, a new era of aerial weaponry emerged. Although the X-4 missile had limited performance, it paved the way for advanced air-to-air missile systems that have transformed aerial combat. These missiles could autonomously track their objectives, ensuring a higher success rate and enabling pilots to engage enemies from a safe distance without the need for dangerous dogfighting maneuvers. Today, most air-to-air missile systems are equipped with fire-and-forget technology, which allows pilots to engage targets from hundreds of yards away, release their missiles, and swiftly move away. This has shifted the focus of aerial combat from human skill to superior technology, as advanced radar and navigational systems can detect and track enemy planes. The world of aerial combat has undergone significant evolution, where the roar of engines has been replaced by the sound of missiles launching across the sky. This transformation has given an advantage to the fighter with the most advanced technology, making the battle more about calculated strikes rather than a game of cat and mouse. The range of air-to-air missile systems has improved drastically over the years, thanks to advancements in technology and engineering. One such case is the German Ruhrstahl X-4 wire-guided air-to-air missile, which had a range of only around 1 mile. Today, some modern missiles can travel over 100 miles, taking down enemy aircraft at distances that far surpass those of the human eye. The overwhelming increase in the range of air-to-air missiles has occurred mainly thanks to the development of more powerful rocket motors. Modern missiles are equipped with rocket motors that burn for more extended periods, allowing them to travel farther distances. Additionally, advances in guidance systems, such as inertial guidance, GPS, and radar, have enabled missiles to navigate to their targets more accurately, as they can often correct their trajectories mid-course to engage fast-moving targets. Being able to strike enemy fighters from dozens of miles away has completely shifted the dynamic of aerial combat, as many encounters are now resolved by who can detect and engage the opponent from a greater distance. This fact has severely limited Ukraine's air combat prowess in the current war against Russian forces. Despite having a highly trained and more modern air force, Ukraine lacks the technological advances bolstered by the Russian fleet. Ukraine is not only limited to the number of fighters it has at its disposal, but also to the capabilities those fighters showcase. Some of the most capable warplanes Ukraine has been using during the conflict are the Soviet-era MiG-29s. The Ukraine fighters are equipped with the Vimpel R-27 air-to-air medium-range missile systems, which can strike targets as far as 80 miles away. The weapon is more than capable of dealing with opponents of similar technology, but Russia's air-to-air solutions are far more potent, with its lethal R-37M missiles, capable of striking targets over 200 miles away, while flying at Mach 6 speeds. Recently, Ukrainian soldiers were reminded of the formidable adversary they've been facing in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine when they laid their hands on the wreckage of a Russian R-37M missile system, also known as the Axe-Head missile by NATO. This weapon is widely regarded as one of the world's most advanced air-to-air missile systems, boasting technology so sophisticated and costly that it is typically reserved for use against the most valuable targets, such as enemy cruise missiles, stealth fighters, and strategic bombers. The missile system is engineered to be operated from various platforms, including the Su-35 and Su-57 fighters. However, due to the substantial size of the missiles, they cannot be mounted on smaller aircraft, thereby limiting the range of operating platforms available to the system. The Axe-Head missile utilizes a combination of inertial navigation and active radar homing to guide itself to the target. It also comes with a data link that enables it to receive real-time updates from the launch platform or other sources. Moreover, it's capable of performing high-G maneuvers and can adjust its flight path according to the target's movements and feedback received via data link. During the final stage of its flight, the missile attains hypersonic speeds of up to 4,600 miles per hour, making it nearly impossible to intercept by any existing defense technology. This staggering velocity enables it to catch up with any aircraft in the world, even the North American X-15, the fastest experimental jet in history, with a top speed of 4,520 miles per hour. Compared to other missile systems used by the most advanced warplanes, the Axe-Head has a considerable edge, with the American AIM-54 Phoenix air-to-air missile barely able to reach Mach 5. Breakneck speed is not the only factor that makes a missile system effective. Many analysts argue that despite its speed, other missiles are more reliable than the Russian R-37M. Nevertheless, the footage of the Axe-Head wreckage is chilling evidence that Ukraine, continuously deprived of state-of-the-art military gear, is pitted against some of the most sophisticated and devastating military technology ever devised by humankind. However, some experts have interpreted the footage differently, arguing that Russia's use of this technology in the Ukraine conflict is evidence that Putin's conventional armament is running low, as it is supposed to be reserved for high-risk threats. As such, it looks as though he's being forced to use his most advanced systems against less sophisticated targets. Only time will tell if Russia is reaching the limits of its arsenal of destruction, or if it's just getting started. Nonetheless, one thing is for sure. The X-Head missile system is a fearsome weapon that underscores the technological prowess and military might of the Russian army, and the world is watching closely. In September 2023, a series of startling photographs shocked the world, a bizarre fusion of history and desperation, capturing Russian MTLB tractors topped with antiquated 2M3 naval turrets. These images, 80-year-old gun mounts, originally built to arm patrol boats, onto 70-year-old armored tractors, are a surreal blend of sea and land warfare. The Russians began putting different parts together in the spring of 2023, mixing and matching whatever hulls and turrets they had, in a bid to make up for the escalating losses of modern combat vehicles in the now well over 2-year-long war against Ukraine. When the photographs were originally published, they were the laughingstock of the military community, and when they were used in battle, their lack of accuracy was glaring. But this soon may change. A recent Russian media report from the brutal battle for Avdiivka, a stronghold in eastern Ukraine, suggests Russia's jankiest armored fighting vehicle seems to be evolving, hinting at a new chapter in the essential art of war improvisation. The Soviet Union's MTLB, Russian for multipurpose light armored towing vehicle, is an armored personnel carrier introduced in the 1960s, during a time of technological advancement in the country. It was a mechanical successor to the mules and pack horses of the previous century, towing weapons into their firing positions or transporting infantry to the front lines. The vehicle is lightly armored, with steel thickness ranging from 3 to 10 millimeters and up to 14 in the turret front, enough to protect from small arms, and equipped with a small turret that fits a 7.62mm machine gun. With powerful steel tracks, a 240 horsepower 8-cylinder diesel engine, and amphibious equipment, the vehicle has an operational range of 310 miles, a maximum speed of 19 miles per hour across country, twice that on roads, and 3.7 miles while inside water. Mass production of the MTLB began in the early 1970s at the Kharkiv tractor plant in Soviet Ukraine, as well as in Bulgaria, and thanks to the vehicle's adaptable design, more than 55,000 models were produced and delivered all over the vast Soviet territory. Throughout its service history, in representation of the Soviet faction, the MTLB was used in numerous conflicts, including the Soviet-Afghan War and the Iran-Iraq War. As the Soviet Union broke into pieces, the vehicle continued to participate in conflicts like the Gulf War, the Chechen Wars, the Iraq War, the Boko Haram insurgency, and the Syrian Civil War. Once a ubiquitous presence on battlefields, the MTLB slowly began to fade from significant frontline service, seemingly destined to become a relic of past conflicts. However, it re-emerged on the modern battlefield years later, resurrecting its role amid the 2023 Russo-Ukrainian War. More often than not, military conflicts become a testing ground for unlikely innovations of modified military equipment. These wild alterations aim to rectify existing flaws and enhance the combat effectiveness of the machinery. Or sometimes, like in the Russia-Ukraine war, it's mainly to roll any vehicle onto the front lines as fast as possible. Since the beginning of the conflict in the spring of 2022, different modernizations have been increasingly common for both sides, especially Russia. After losing nearly 10,000 tanks, fighting vehicles, trucks, and howitzers only in the first year, it's a known fact the Kremlin is running low on modern armored vehicles, and their factories can't build new ones fast enough to make up for it. Because of this, many sightings have been caught on camera of hundreds of previously in storage vehicles, like decades-old T-62 tanks, BMP-1 fighting vehicles, and BTR-50P armored tractors. But one of the most surprising ones, which only further highlights the growing desperation of the Russians, are gunned-up versions of MTLB armored personnel carriers. According to the UK Ministry of Defence, while many Russian troops have been equipped with them, These are particularly common amongst pro-Russian separatists in Donetsk and Luhansk. Among the weapons and oddities slapped onto MTLBs are the turret of a BMP-1 fighting vehicle with a 73mm 2A28 Grom low-pressure gun, the 2B9 Vasilek automatic 82mm mortar, both in a hull top or turret mount, and the gun turret of a 2S9 Nona S vehicle, armed with a 120mm rifled gun mortar. But, even further highlighting the Russians' desperation, the most exotic MTLBs of them all are fitted with weapons never intended for use on ground vehicles. In the spring of 2023, Russia shocked the public when photographs emerged online of MTLBs equipped with the Cold War-era 2M3 naval turrets securely welded on top of their roofs. The 2M3 weapon, which began service with the Red Army in 1953, even earlier than the MTLB, consists of a duo of 25mm autocannons, one on the top and the other within an enclosed casing. Reportedly, the Russian army sourced these 70-year-old weapons from their Navy's Pacific Fleet, and in most cases, the vintage MTLBs and their even older turrets have been craftily integrated. The photographs show that technicians have minimally welded the weapons onto the tractors without blending their hydraulics and electrical systems, and most notably, without rebalancing the vehicle's center of mass. According to Edward Perov, a close observer of Russian combat vehicles in Ukraine, this is a grave physics mistake. As he stated, quote, "There's some feeling that the hydraulics of the 2M3 were abandoned and switched to fully manual guidance, since this is the simplest solution that does not require labor, but predictably affects the effectiveness of firing." The result of this Frankenstein vehicle is a janky fire support vehicle that violently shakes when shooting. In September 2023, a video that circulated on social media confirmed what many observers suspected. The 2M3 turret installed in the MTLB is totally unstabilized. In fact, the vibration from firing the first few rounds makes it highly likely that subsequent ones will fly well wide of their target. From the 2M3's initial deployment 70 years ago, there have been critical advancements in gun stabilization. Because of this, Ukrainian deployed MTLBs, armed with a more modern BM7 autocannon turret or MT12 100mm guns, work much better than the Russian copycats, sporting turrets from the 1950s. An MTLB-12 can fire as far as 9,000 yards, while a Russian Frankenstein tractor shoots no farther than 2,700 yards while engaging targets on the ground. While inside, the crew members of the vehicle might aim the turret towards its target. With a significant degree of accuracy, it can suppress, but most likely can't destroy. So to be effective, the Russian Franken vehicle must get a lot closer to the enemy. However, the previously mentioned thinness of the MTLB's armor means the vehicle can't roll closer to the target to improve precision without significantly compromising its safety. But since the first sighting of the badly put-together vehicle, it seems Russia's jankiest armored fighting vehicle is evolving. A November 2023 Russian media report from the brutal battle for Avdiivka, a stronghold in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk Oblast, depicts at least one old MTLB armored tractor armed with an old 2M3 naval turret. But this tractor is different from the others, with the 2M3's vintage guns more blended and integrated with the hull of the MTLB vehicle that carries it. The biggest sign of this is that the turret is much shorter than the ones in previous versions. Because the tube-shaped base of the turret isn't visible, it seemed Russian technicians have either removed the base or sank it into the MTLB's passenger compartment. Either possibility, according to experts, should make for a more balanced and stable firing platform. While stabilizing the firing platform is a start and a clear sign that Russia has begun to address the MTLB-2M3's major vibration problem, this doesn't yet mean they're integrating the vehicle's and turret's hydraulics or other more intricate systems. Due to their inability to buy or build enough brand new and fully integrated vehicles to keep pace with battlefield losses, the Russian and Ukrainian armies increasingly rely on DIY vehicles. While the first Franken vehicles on both sides have yielded embarrassing results. With time, both sides of the fight have slowly gotten better at combining hulls, turrets, and guns. and as the wider war grinds toward its third year, the Frankenstein combat vehicles will likely continue to improve. With the numerous mutant MTLB fighting vehicles already in and around the front lines, with over 55,000 models produced during the Cold War, more will likely be invented and introduced in the coming months and years. While peacetime armies go to great expense, tailoring exquisitely optimized yet expensive war machines, the real-time pressures of an ongoing warfare conflict inspire creative adaptation of already available resources and all their potential uses. In such scenarios, a versatile and cost-effective base vehicle often proves more valuable than a meticulously engineered specialized unit.